What is up? Coach Emma here, and welcome back to the Fit Habit Life podcast, where we cut through the noise, talk real health and fitness, sustainable fat loss, and habits that actually work. And Coach Laura is back on. We still are not roommates, unfortunately.
It might be a while, but I feel like I might be coming through Salt Lake in September, October, November sometime. I don't know. It's a question mark. It will happen, and we will maybe have one almost roommate night. I think the only downside is that Emma's husband cannot tolerate my dogs because of his...
Well, he can now.
Oh my goodness.
Yes.
We might have a little less allergy to Bowser and Zelda, and we can actually maybe do a live podcast together. I
would be great. I don't really have a setup for that, but we can make it work.
I mean, I'm probably going to have my podcast mic in the car, so maybe we just do it from across the room and it'll be great.
Perfect. That sounds like a plan. But yeah, the last time we did a podcast, we talked about how sometimes this isn't necessarily talked about all the time, but client expectations versus reality of the experience, the coaching experience. What is normal? What should they expect? And what is realistic, time frame wise for your goals?
Yeah, no, 100%. And I think part of this is when clients come in, one of the most important things that I think you and I both do is we have that onboarding call where we level set an expectation of hey, I hear you have these goals. What's your 6-week, 3-month, 6-month goal? And then level set, hey, here's the timeline in reality that it takes to get there. And sometimes that timeline can be a little bit shocking to some people. Or they just come in with a different set of expectations because they have been in the Instagram space and they're seeing all these people posting their 6 and 12-week transformations. And they're like, well, why can't I do that? And those are the fun conversations that we get to have in terms of level setting what it really takes and how long it really takes, but also the work it requires to get there too.
Yeah, totally. And something that I did not do a very good job of, and sometimes I still forget to elaborate on, is the work that is required, because I have clients of varying backgrounds and other things, and I'm very type A, so you give me a thing to do, I do it. I ask questions, but I usually am pretty consistent and compliant, so that also plays a role in how long your goals are going to take, because let's say we're hey, I need data to know where you're at now, with your nutrition, your tracking. I need to see hey, on average, how many calories are you eating a day? And what do those days look like? What are your food choices? What's your protein intake? What's your fiber intake? How many carbs are you actually eating? Are you weighing the food with a food scale? All of this little data to where when I get on a sales call or a consultation with somebody, I can be yeah, realistically, it's going to take about this amount of time. But that's if they do all the things and they're consistent and the stuff that they're telling me on the consult is accurate, which oftentimes when I start to get the data, it's not.
No, 100%. And I think the biggest piece is maybe we should work from the beginning and go from the initial consult call when people are coming in with expectations. What are some of the expectations that they're coming in with that you are going, you know what, that's not quite the reality of the situation? So the number one off the top of my head is always going to be, they're kind of two big buckets. One is how long does it take for me to do the thing? How quickly can I start doing the thing? And 99% of the time that's how long is it going to take me for it to get the fat loss goal I want? And then how long is it going to take for me to get started on fat loss? Insert, I've got a couple of gals and guys who come in with muscle building goals, and it's the exact same. It's how long is it going to take me to look like this jacked superhero, and when can I start doing that? So those are usually the two overarching pieces where there's usually a strong reality check going on, because they'll send me, oh, I follow so-and-so on Instagram, and this was their 6-month transformation pic. And half the time, that person might be a little bit medically assisted in their goals, and whether it's enhancements for muscle building or in a scenario where their starting point of potentially a fat loss phase is just a very, very different starting point than the client coming in too. And so
Totally.
I think going into it is like the number one expectation we have is like, don't set your expectations based on what somebody else did.
Yeah. Yes. Yeah, that's huge. And I mean, like most, probably for you too, a lot of the clients that I work with are like older women because they've been chronically dieting for a long time and they're tired of it. And they actually have extra finances. So they're like ready to invest in coaching and get that guidance. And most of them want to lose weight. But unfortunately, the reality is they've never spent any time trying to build muscle or get strong. And they don't really have a great foundation to lose fat from because a lot of the chronic dieting that they had done led to muscle loss. So unfortunately for most of those clients, like we have to spend time in a build. So it's a kind of a tough spot to be in as a coach because you want to help the client reach their goals, but their expectations are not what is realistic. And so you have to tell them, nope, it's probably going to take a couple years.
Yes. Well, and I think the bigger, exactly, Emma, and as I think about it, the number, I would say the overwhelming majority of consult calls I've done in the last 3 months have been an archetype of ladies who are 35 to 60 who are like, I realize I'm where I am. I don't want to be here. I have 15 to 30 pounds to lose. How quickly can I lose it? And what do I need to do to get there? And when we go through their history, I'm hearing the exact same things. They have tried many deficits, are self-reporting they're eating like 1,100 to 1,600 calories a day, which I actually do believe. Coming in, many of these clients, quite a few days a week, are eating 1,100 to 1,600 calories a day, and then higher maintenance or higher on the weekends, etc. But when you come to us from that position, and then you also have a screenshot of going, oh, this, I'm gonna give a shout out to one of my friend coaches. So Patty lives in Southern California. She is the most jacked hot grandma I know, and I really mean this. And she's kind of leaned into that because I think she got a 1 or 2 year old granddaughter at this point who's absolutely cute. But she is the jacked hot grandma, and they're like, "How do I look like Patty?" I'm like, "Well, bad news for you is Patty's been lifting for like 40 years, or 30 years. I don't want to I'm not overselling her age, but I was like, she has been lifting really, really heavy for 30 years, and you have been not lifting heavy ever. In your lifetime. Yeah. Potentially we've done like some cardio classes, we've done some Orange Theory, but we don't have that muscle base that Patty does. So first of all, we got to establish this muscle base. But secondly, you just told me that we're at 1,100 calories a lot of days a week. Do you feel comfortable if you want to lose a pound of body fat a week? And I will talk through this in the consult call. I'm like, if you want to lose a pound of body fat a week, we need to be in a 500 calorie deficit, which may or may not be appropriate for you regardless. But like, let's just kind of game plan this. I'm like, do you feel comfortable sustainably eating 700 calories for the next 20 weeks because you want to lose 20 pounds? And they're like, oh no, I can't do that. I was like, okay, so expectation here, that is what is going to need to happen at some point cumulatively. We can't do that right now because we don't have a foundation of where to do that. And the easiest way, and I think, Emma, you and I touched on this like a couple episodes ago, is let's figure out how to actually eat enough. And it's much easier to do that in a build with 100 extra calories a day. Because, and when you start walking through that expectation, I think with going, hey, this is, if you want to eat 700 calories a day, then we could be in a deficit, but you're not going to be happy. We're certainly going to lose what muscle you do have because there's no way you can get enough nutrients in. Why don't we just do something different than what we've been doing the last 3, 5, 10 years? Because what you've been doing hasn't been working for you. And that conversation typically goes, okay, hey, I had this expectation that I'm just going to hire Emma, I'm going to hire Laura, and like magically in 24 weeks, I'm going to have this, like, I'm going to look like Patty. And as much as I would love to sell that, it just isn't going to happen in that manner. And the quicker that we can have that conversation and like logically walk through without like take out that emotional letdown of going, hey, yes, we can work towards that goal, but it's just going to take us a much longer timeline, the better the client relationship goes moving forward, because I go, okay, here's some things we can do. Like, you're going to feel better. You're going to sleep better. Your hair is going to stop falling out. Your energy is going to be better, but we're going to have to push off that fat loss goal while we work on these foundational things. And giving that expectation of like, some of these other things that you came in complaining about are going to get better, but we just have to change that body recomp goal to further down the road, can dramatically help the letdown of the expectation of coming in that we are going to have this crazy fat loss transformation off the bat.
Yeah. And that's when I first started coaching, I automatically assumed everybody was like me too, so that they would, I don't know if I said this before we recorded or when we were recording, I don't remember. It's been a long week already and it's Tuesday. But most people too, like, aren't always like 100% compliant to where stuff is going to take longer. So like me going in and thinking through my lens, like, oh, I've been lifting for 12 years or whatever. If I come in, yeah, I can lose 10 pounds of fat probably in 12 weeks or so. And that's realistic because I have a pretty high maintenance range for a woman, which that's another misconception I think that a lot of people have. Most women can't eat 3,000 calories a day and maintain their weight. Unfortunately, I can't. Right now, I have been eating close to that a lot because of the amount of training that I've been doing for the Ragnar. But my maintenance is probably 24 to 2,600 calories a day as like a 6 foot, 175 pound woman. And my hormones are in a great spot. Bone density is in a great spot. I have a good amount of muscle mass on my frame. I'm fairly active, like 10,000 steps a day, train 4 days a week. So that's also part of it too, is one, most people aren't consistently doing the things to where they have a good baseline to shift from, but also the expectations of what is realistic is really not done well on the internet.
Yeah. Oh, 100%. I think, do you follow TDL coaching, Taylor?
Yes.
She did a great reel the other day about that the coaches who post these like crazy transformations.
Yep.
That's usually they're one of two people. One, they are somebody who gives you a very, very prescriptive, unrealistic life plan where it's like, hey, this is your 1,200 calorie meal plan. You have high stakes of how to follow through, and then they let go of them after 12 weeks because they get their photos and they go. Or number two is that they run these massive competition style like challenges so that they have thousands of people submitting photos, and then they cherry pick the 50 or 60 that work really well, and they're like, those are the ones that they lean on. And if you guys go and look at some of those profiles that are constantly putting out all these transformations, if you scroll, it's the same photos.
Yep, it's always the same photos.
It's the same ones, and you're like, oh wait, those jaw-dropping transformations that they're promising, they're rotating through the same ones of the 1% of the challengers that go through it. And that's just the end of the challenge. It's not necessarily like forever. Yeah. Either. But Emma, I think you brought up in that same vein of going, okay, sustainability, like how long does it take to do this? So let's go back to our 20 pounds of fat loss and 500 calorie deficit a week. So we're going to use some even numbers here. But if I would say most clients probably aren't losing a pound a week that are females, because for optimal rates of fat loss, usually clients find the sweet spot about 0.5% of body weight per week. So if you're a 200-pound female, a pound a week may make sense for you depending on what your maintenance calories are. But for Emma, that's a little aggressive. She's probably looking at 0.8 per week. For me, I'm looking at like 0.7 per week. That's the number that we can lose in a sustainable time period for most of us. So point number one. But let's go back to, okay, 20 pounds in 20 weeks. That is assuming that we have 20 weeks, which is 5 months of relatively perfect consistency when it comes to hitting our targets, hitting our steps, sleeping, no alcohol, fiber, protein. Okay, that's a lot. That is 20 consecutive weeks of doing that. So every single time we have a maintenance day or a fuck it day, that timeline gets a day longer, if not 2 days longer if we go above maintenance. Then you layer on the couple days where like, oh, I meant to hit 1,600 calories and I hit 1,800. Well, that's a half a day, right? Because you were trying to be in a 500 calorie deficit and you really only had a 250 calorie deficit. So then you keep adding on time to that timeline, and just the sheer number of days dieting gets longer and longer and longer because of, and I'm going to use compliance in air quotes here, compliance. However, that's a pretty dramatic goal to begin with. And telling somebody like, hey, for the next 5 months, you have no breaks. You just have to go and do this and grind is something that they think, oh, I really, really want that 20 pounds off and I'm going to do it. They will swear up and down to you because it's a very important goal to them. But oftentimes they're not prepared for what happens. Like, oh shoot, I kind of forgot that it's my husband's birthday. And it's not just and then they'll be like, oh, well, it's only one day. But really, your husband's birthday is, and I say this because, guys, my deficit is always around Matt's birthday, is we have his birthday day. And then we have like the friend celebration where we all go out to eat on maybe Saturday. And then maybe we have a family celebration too. So it's really not one day. It is 3 days that I am choosing to go, you know what, I don't care about my deficit targets. I'm going to celebrate my husband's birthday because that's really important to me and him. And those kinds of life things come up. And when we have this expectation going in of like, I'm going to do this thing in this time frame, if you're not working with somebody like Emma or myself who is going to be like, hey, let's game plan for these. Let's have a plan for how we can balance hitting our deficit targets or like choosing intentional maintenance days around this. You have this expectation that you're going to be doing this thing, and then you don't have a frame of reference or guide to be like, what do I do when I have these roadblocks come up? Or, oh gosh, I've just lost my entire deficit because I celebrated my husband's birthday on his day and we did a friend's dinner. And these are things that we don't, as Emma and I, don't expect you to have perfect compliance. In fact, we usually plan for those things to come up ahead of time. But when you are looking on the social media sphere of these like photos and whatnot, these are people who said, screw it, husband, I don't care about your birthday. I'm bringing my meal prep box because I paid $1,000 for this transformation challenge. Yep. Yeah. They're like, I'm bringing my meal prep meals. No.
Most people don't want to do that.
No, because they go, wow, this isn't worth it. Like, yeah, I wanted to lose 20 pounds, but at what cost?
Yeah. And then they give up because they realize if they don't have a good coach or they're not given the expectations of what reality kind of looks like, they quit.
Yep.
And it's sad because it's like, it doesn't have to be that way, but it's going to take longer the right way.
Yeah. And I say that as it's going to take longer in a way that works for most people. So even, I don't even want to say the right way, because I've got some friends in the bodybuilding space who love the structure of their meal prep meals. I know. Emma's making a face. I clearly do not love the structure of their meal prep meals, but I would say for the way that works we work a lot of, general population clients who are like, I want to look good, but I also want to live my life. Like, I don't want to live out of my bodybuilding meal prep, but I want to be strong. I want to look like I lift. Like, how do I meet in the middle here? Applying bodybuilding show tactics to something that you are not going to be doing for the rest of your life usually means those are results that you cannot sustain.
Yep.
Which is how we end up with a lot of clients who are like, hey, I did the container diet. I did the
That's a thing?
Dude, yes.
What's the container diet?
Oh, okay. So the container I don't think it's actually called a container diet, but I'm going to describe it and our listeners are definitely know what I'm talking about. It is I don't even remember what it might have been not like Shakeology, but one of those.
Where they give you all your meals?
No, they don't give you all your meals. They give you a bunch of colored containers, and it's like red tops are for fats and green tops are for proteins or vegetables. And then you would say like, I am a female and I'm 150 pounds. I'd be like, okay, you're allowed 1 green container, 2 red container, like whatever. So
That's a thing?
Yes. So it was like basically portion
control.
Portion control.
Yeah.
So you'd have like this teeny little like, this is for your avocado container, and like this is for your chicken container, and this is for green veggie container.
That's
and you
wild.
So you meal prepped, but you didn't have to weigh your food because a basically pre-portioned. Like, this is a cup. This is 2 cups. I really wish I knew. And then you had the RP templates, like everything you could possibly do to be like, how do I set up a bodybuilding meal prep without having to like weigh and count calories? It was where a lot of like my clients have come from, where like, I've got this, or I had this meal plan, yada yada, and I just couldn't make it sustainable. It's like, yeah, because you don't want to live your life like that for forever. You don't want to live out of these meal prep containers. You want to live off this meal plan. You've got high school kids that you have to feed. Like, it's really hard for you to be eating, chicken and rice when you also are trying to make them enchiladas for dinner. Like, why don't we figure out how to make enchiladas that work for the family? Or like have a full cheese tray and a half cheese tray of enchiladas. Things like that just don't make a lot of sense. So when it comes back to that, pulling it back to the expectations versus reality here, the reality is it's probably going to take us about twice as long as you think it's going to take, because you're coming in with this expectation that, oh, this was a 12-week transformation. Well, those people were 1,000% dialed for 12 weeks. We have no follow-up. Like, not once. Those people that post crazy transformations, are they doing like a follow-up? Or like, here's where they are 1 year on the journey. It's usually 12 weeks, right? The reality is it's probably going to take about twice as long, but you're going to enjoy it twice as much too, because you will have learned a lot more about yourself and making it sustainable for you in a way that goes, okay, yeah, that took twice as long, but I also feel a lot better than I did. And I've had friends potentially go through these like challenges and look great and then rebound and look great and rebound. You're not rebounding when we are taking twice as long.
Yep. But so the longer way is the quicker way, is what I like to say. Like in a consult or something, like, I know this seems like slow and boring and like it's going to take forever, but if you keep doing what you've been doing, you're never going to get there. So while this seems longer in the short term and the long term, it's what actually works and helps you maintain the results for life.
Yeah, 100%. Yeah, longer way. It's, at the end of the day, the time is passing regardless. And I usually ask them at that point, they're like, well, what can I do to make this any quicker? And part of it will be like a compliance conversation of going, hey, I understand that we want to kind of just decide what we're eating the day of, but there are things that we can do to improve, to make it easier to hit targets. And those are conversations that we can have. But I also go back to, okay, well, how many times have you tried to do it the quicker way? How many times have we looked for like that corner to cut, and you've done the HCG drops, you've done the container diet, you've done the RP meal templates, you've done all these other things, and like, where are we at? Do you think at this point that there is one of those stones left unturned that you just haven't heard about before? No, usually there's not. It's like, hey, the things that are working, the reason you guys signed up with us is because you have a friend who like, oh my gosh, I've been working with Emma for a year and I feel so much better. And you're just now like going, wow, she is her skin looks healthier. She's got more energy, but she's still kind of going out to eat and doing the things. Like, what is she doing where I feel like it's not cramping her lifestyle, where every other diet I've tried really cramped my lifestyle? And that's the thing that we're doing, because that long way of going, I've learned how to make this work with doing a lot of things I like to do, makes a big difference. And so back to that, like, again, it's a pretty much a reframe of expectations, and huge reframe. And you can't get there until you're there, but it's part of our jobs as coaches is to educate you on, here's your expectation. Okay. Here, we will give you a realistic timeline of what to do, and then not only what's the realistic timeline, but what is required of you to get to that timeline. And here's some benchmarks. Yeah.
Yes. And that leads me to my question for you. What should a client expect from coaching? And I guess, like, before asking that, I'll kind of say, like, realistically, what does a good coach cost? And that depends. But for the most part, most coaching, unless it's like they're, going above and beyond or whatever, it should be about $200 to $500 a month, I'd say. Like, realistically, like, what? And are we gonna micromanage you and like I don't know, trying to think of crazy stuff, like come to your house and cook your meals for you, or but it's like probably not. Like we might give you some ideas and structure and planning tips or whatever, but our goal is to make you self-sufficient. So we're not going to micromanage you. We're going to give you the plan, help you adjust the plan based on life and other things, but it's probably not going to be this crazy thing.
Yeah.
I guess is a good way.
Okay, that's a 2-part question. So number 1, how much should a coach cost? Whew. Well, I'm going to preface this by saying when you are signing up for coaching, you are signing up for Emma and I's wealth of experience and knowledge. You are not signing up for the specific hours that we are spending together. And I know that's a hard thing to hear, but in the same way that when you are at your job and you are getting a promotion, you're like, hey, look, you're paying me because I've got a degree in this. I've spent 10 years in a similar role. I've done all these things. Like they're paying you for your breadth of knowledge in order to do the job that you're doing right now. And so when you hire Emma and I, you're not just paying us for like, oh, this is the amount of time like we're chatting. You're also paying us for, hey, we've worked with hundreds of other clients in your situation. We have seen many, many ways that this can play out. We understand, a very deep understanding of a lot of the conversations that go on between the ears with us, and how do we help coach you based on where you're at, because we have experienced many other clients in your situation before. So that's like a very important preface to then go, okay, depending on what your coaching service is providing, I would agree. But Emma, somewhere between really, I'm going to say air quotes, a minimum of $200 to somewhere in the high 500s. And that's depending on how much nutrition are we getting? How much are we chatting per week in terms of, chatting per month? And then on the training side, what level of training program are we implementing here? So for example, I do a group fitness program for everybody, and I go, here's the program. It is $30 a month, and you can swap as many movements you want, and all those instructions are listed. Whereas I could have another client who comes and goes, oh, I want to do nutrition. I want to have custom programming based on what's in my gym and the muscle groups that I want to grow. Okay, well, that is a very, that's me understanding, hey, what are your biomechanics? I'm like, oh, you're a long femored person. Oh, and you've got like a squat hip press, but you don't have a cable machine. Then we have to do a lot more things there. And I am going, how do I optimize this best for your environment? And taking all that knowledge on the biomechanics side and programming side. So there's a lot that can stretch that out in terms what the delivery expectation that you have. But regardless of what quote unquote level of coaching you're going to, your goal should not be to be a client forever. Because if your goal is to be a client forever, then your expectation is that Emma and I are just sending you a meal plan. Here's your daily macros. Hey, checking on why didn't you hit your protein yesterday? And for many of our clients are parents, right? I'd say majority of your clients are parents, or fair.
Well, I have a really, really large range of ages.
Yeah,
I'd say sure, but
okay. Let's go with parents or people managers, right?
Sure.
Okay.
Yes.
Parents or people managers. And that will encompass most of it. If you have a teenage child or a entry-level employee, do you want to remind them every day to put the dishes in the dishwasher? Do you want to remind them every day to brush their teeth? Do you want to remind them every day to do their time card? No, because your expectation is hey, this is part of doing business right now. This is part of living in this household. This is part of having this job. Our goals for us is you don't want to pay me to be your reminder. You can set a note in your iPhone today. Every morning at 8 a.m., remind me to track my food. What you want from Emma and I is to coach you on how do I navigate the life piece of this. Okay, I have these goals I'm trying to track, but I'm sure I'm at a work conference. What do I do when I'm traveling and these foods are out? How do I mentally game plan for this? That is what you are paying for. It is not the macros. It is not a meal plan. It is not even sort of the workout program. It's understanding how to navigate those things. So when it comes to that, expectations coming in is like, oh, I'm just going to get this thing and they're going to tell me what to do. The real execution that you should be having is going, my goal in engaging with Laura and Emma is, how do I do the things that I need to do? Because I know what I need to do. Almost everybody's like, oh yeah, I know I technically need to track my food and weigh it and hit targets, but how do I do that? And that is what you're paying us to help coach you based on your set of life circumstances.
Yes. And because we're awesome to be around, right?
Yes, we're the best. You guys want to come hike the TMB and go to Croatia and go to Slovenia, and maybe we'll do a Utah hiking meetup.
We should do that.
We should do that. I just dropped that. I didn't even preface Emma on that.
Great idea. No,
yes.
I'm down. I need more friends to hike with. So, and some people might live in Utah, But yeah, you guys should also do the TMB. I would like to, what does it stand for?
It's technically T lowercase d MB, so Tour du Mont Blanc. Because the mountain is Mont Blanc and you circumnavigate it, so the tour. Yeah.
Okay. Oh, so what do you call your hiking package trips?
I should probably have a name for them. I don't know, trips.
Oh,
come do the things. Retreats,
okay.
I guess is maybe the right word. Yeah, maybe not the retreat de Mont Blanc, but it is a that was more of a trek. But the other ones are going to be just retreats where we get to go hike and eat and talk about fun things.
Cool.
Yeah.
I wish I could go.
I know.
We still have holes in our bathrooms. We're trying to get a not exorbitant quote, but anyway. But yes, you guys should go to those if you want to hang out with cool people.
Okay, sorry. Circling back to expectations versus reality of coaching.
So what do you what do you expect, or what should a client expect with a coaching relationship with you? And yeah. I'm going to ask with you because I know we kind of do the same thing.
Yes. So. I would say a client's going to expect, depending on usually I have a weekly or a bi-weekly call with them if we're in a one-on-one environment. And my expectation of this client is that, and I will go, my expectation versus what they can expect also back from me, is that they show up to that call ready to dig into whatever we provided in the last call. So oftentimes these calls start out with, I have their weekly or bi-weekly check-in, and it collects all their data. So what have they been eating? What have they been activity-wise doing? Maybe even HRV, sleep, etc. And then some biofeedback. Where, how's digestion? How's recovery? How are workouts going? And then here's the plan. Do you think we're on plan? If we're not on track, why? And what should we do about it? And I really like to put them in the driver's seat in terms of going, what should we do about it? Because that starts to get you thinking about it. So that when you show up to the call, and you and I have a 30-minute call, we chat through, okay, where did we get derailed? Are we okay with being derailed? Or what can we do better next time? So for example, you might have your kid's first birthday party, and you're like, I had game planned for this, and I just didn't think about how many cupcakes would be out on the table. And like, next time I would probably go, you know what, I'm gonna have a cupcake when I have my meal, instead of just like having all these mini cupcakes throughout the day and then I'm realizing I had 6 mini cupcakes the other day. Cool. All right. That's not something I'm gonna sweat about. But when we think about, or you might go, oh, I had a business trip. My expectation was that it was going to go one way. What I've learned is that, you know what, I always need to have a backup option. I need to know where the nearest Chipotle or Mad Greens or Sweet Greens is, because they provided sandwiches that had one slice of ham on it and I was hungry and this was unpleasant. And so we kind of chat through those scenarios and then also pre-plan of like, hey, what's coming up that we need to game plan to better manage nutrition, be 1% better next time. And over the course of our coaching relationship, these questions and deep dives get deeper and deeper, because it'll be, oh, I've moved from the beginner phase to the intermediate phase. Okay, well, you're in the intermediate phase. Let's dig a little bit more into like, hey, how is your fiber and hydration playing around? What are some things we need to do a little bit differently because we've optimized digestion? What can we do there? Or movement patterns. But that is like a lot of that happens in our calls, because I think you can get so much more out of a 30-minute conversation than you can email wise. At least for my clients, they're like, hey, like here's a 1-sentence response to this, and then I find out they went to Disneyland and have a trip to Nicaragua coming up, and I'm like, that's important stuff to be able to plan for. And that, for me, that's my expectation, is like, hey, you're coming to this call engaged, ready to dig into what we can do 1% better. And it's not a self-flagellation. It is okay, here's an assessment. Here's a debrief. This could have gone better. Or, you know what? I went to my best friend's wedding. I had a few bottles of champagne, and I don't really care what happened. And I'm like, cool, that's fine. If it's fine with you, it's fine with me. And going, that wedding is hopefully a once in a lifetime thing that's happening for your best friend. And so those are all pieces that we can digest, and then we look at what's going forward, and then we make adjustments.
So it's like being curious and being open to feedback.
Yes. Curious, open to feedback, and open to just digging in on the why. Because more often than not, it's not the what we did, it's the why we did what we did.
Totally. Yeah. And I guess the reason I asked you, we coach a little bit differently, but same premise and same kind of thing. So most of my clients, I have 2 tiers. I have like monthly check-in, where it's more of like a kind of hands-off, like I took the training wheels off, or I guess the training wheels are still there, but I'm not with you on the bike as much. So it's more like, custom programming, nutrition guidance, and just unlimited messaging support. So if you are struggling, that's on you to reach out, but I will be there to help you and support you and guide you. Then with my weekly check-in clients, depending on what they prefer, it's either a Loom check-in, or it's more of like an asynchronous, or it's anywhere from weekly to biweekly to monthly calls, just depending on what works better. I have some clients that they don't have a lot of free time, so the Loom stuff works really well. But then some that they need a call on the calendar, or it's hard for them to stay as accountable. Yes. So it kind of varies, but really like expectations is open to feedback, honesty, communicating, right? Because it's a relationship, which I think people forget. Like, it's not like we know everything about you and we're going to build a perfect plan and you just have to follow it. Life changes. We also only know as much as you tell us about yourself, unfortunately. I always joke and I say I wish I could read minds, because then I'd be like the best coach ever. But I don't necessarily always want to know what my clients are thinking about me. But yeah, and then like from a deliverable perspective, usually depending again on what we decide, it's some type of programming, some type of mobility that you need to work on, nutrition guidance, depending on if hopefully you're tracking. I try to get everybody to track. I have some clients that just focus, they're not ready yet. So that's the other thing. Like, we'll meet you guys where you're at. Laura is the nutrition data person though. So if you're not like willing to track, it's probably not going to work super well. And for me, it's hard, but it's like, hey, as long as you find what we're doing valuable and you are seeing progress, because you went from standard American diet with a lot of soda to like diet soda, like that's a win. So I don't really have a lot of data to go off of, but if the scale is trending downward and you're feeling better, like, cool, we're moving in the right direction. But yeah, that's what you should expect. Like, but for the most part, and I might have some clients where I'll ask like, hey, like, do you need extra support right now? Is there something I could do to better help you stay compliant or consistent? But most clients, like, and because we don't just coach a single person, for the most part, it's really unrealistic for us to badger you to do all the stuff every day. Like, we want you to be autonomous, and we want you to be able to do this without us. So if we were doing that, it's like a fancy like reminder. You're like paying for a reminder. You're not really learning or doing the things. And some seasons that's nice. Like I have my own coach. Do I really need one? Not really, but I don't really want to think about things. So again, it's nice to like have that because I have to think about all of the other clients, but I'm also not trying to, I already have the lifestyle. I'm just kind of tweaking, I guess, at this point, right? Where I've built a lot of the habits and behaviors. Anyway, so point is, it's unrealistic to expect a coach to badger you all the time, but it is realistic that a coach should respond to you within like probably a 24-hour time block, I'd say, like at least. But anyway, anything else to add of like what a client should expect?
Yeah, I would say I will go 24 to 48 business hours.
Okay.
Just to add a little clarity there, to protect our weekends or travel days, and that generally speaking, I usually tell a client, if you've messaged me on like a Tuesday morning and you haven't heard from me for like Wednesday afternoon, like please, it's not that I'm ignoring you. If I am in office, just send me another message because it may have gotten buried. But yeah, I'd say roughly 24 to 48 business hours. The other thing that I'll add to Emma, two things Emma said that I think are really important. One is if you are a email only or Loom only client or Loom primarily client, the more you communicate, the better coaching you will get.
Yes.
So if you give me a one sentence answer for like my questions and you say, I don't need anything this week, I'm going to assume you don't need anything this week.
Yes.
So, or you're like, okay, well, therefore Emma's doing great. She said, but she looks like she has that maintenance calories. Her runs have been going well. Like things are going well. I'm going to not be worried about you. But the more that you give us, the better coaching that you are going to get. I and Emma love curious clients because we love to educate you. But we cannot educate you if you don't tell us what you want to be educated on. Because some clients are like, hey, I just want you to tell me what to do, and I'm just going to knock those out, and I don't necessarily want all the color on the edges. And some clients are like, I want to dig into like, what are the different kinds of fiber, and why is this one affecting me, and why is that one affecting me? And then we can nerd out about that for however long you want to. But the second piece there where Emma was like, look, this is not what it takes to be autonomous, is if it kind of comes back to our body prep meals. If what you need to do the thing now is also not what you want to do in the long term, is that going to work for you? So if you need somebody to remind you, hey, hit your macros today, hit your macros today, hit your macros today, what are you going to do when it's not us? And our goal is to help you build structures that work for your life, that over time, we take steps and steps back to create more and more autonomy for you, take the training wheels off, and you are in a spot where that structure stands alone. It does not require me to be in your life in order to do it, which is a terrible business model for both of us because our goals are to teach you how to be autonomous. But at the end of the day, that is the best long-term outcome. And so we're not necessarily going to put into place certain structures that are completely don't withstand the fact that when our coaching client relationship ends, like your nutrition shouldn't fall apart because you don't have us sending you a message every morning about like, oh, don't forget to weigh yourself. Like those are things that as an autonomous adult, it's kind of like, hey, don't forget to brush your teeth. Like you should be doing those things regardless, not with us sitting in your little iMessage every morning reminder.
Yeah. Yep. And it's and again, some clients, that's what they want, and that's okay. But you just have to realize that you're probably going to have to stay in the coaching system for a lot longer than 3 months. Probably years. So, and different seasons require different levels of accountability or autonomy. So, but if you want to get in and get out, then you shouldn't expect that level of service. But also, if the coach puts a reminder and a task in an app for you, and it reminds you every day at 8 a.m. to do the thing, don't say your coach wasn't reminding you to do things.
To say that slightly differently is our goals are always to help you build that autonomy. And creating systems that help you build that autonomy, not
Yes.
creating systems of dependency. And if that is something that your coaching relationship is currently building for you, it's like, oh, I have to like rely on my coach to know exactly what I need to do, or I feel like a completely lost soul in this. They're probably not preparing you for transitioning off nutrition coaching at any time. And so that's just a question that I would ask yourself, is going, hey, is what I'm learning right now, one, am I learning, or am I just doing? If I'm just doing and not learning, is there an opportunity to learn? Because it's okay. There are definitely seasons where I've got some very, very busy professionals who are like, look, Laura, I know that I can learn the things, but like right now, I just need to be doing the things. And when I'm ready, I will engage you to learn. I'm like, great. There are seasons for that, and that is okay. But is there an opportunity to go from doing to learning? If there is, great. When you're ready, take that leap. The faster we get to the learning, the more autonomous we can be. The more autonomous we can be, the faster we get to doing it on our own. And usually, the more autonomous we can be, the better compliant that we can be to the plan, because we have started to build in that self autonomy into like, oh, I know how to pivot. I know how to engage. I know how to navigate a work conference. I know what to do when this first birthday party comes up. I know what to do when I have a wedding weekend away. Those are the things, like, as you are learning, things get better, right? And you are in charge of the timeline at the end of the day. We are here to help you as much as possible, but your willingness to engage, be curious, learn new behaviors, try new things, because sometimes everything we try isn't always the best thing for you, but we don't know until we try that. Those are the pieces that are going to help you be more successful in your journey more quickly and help you get more to those long-term expectations and goals.
Totally. And I want to just like highlight one of the last things that you said, like, we don't know how your body's going to respond to everything. Because sometimes too, even if you've coached a lot of people, every body is different and every person is different. And so that's why too, 3 months of coaching, that just helps us establish like kind of a baseline, usually for a client, to where if you're only coaching with somebody for 3 months, you're probably not going to get that much out of it, because we don't know your body as well as you know your body, but you also don't know your body as well as you think you do, because otherwise you wouldn't be reaching out to us. But I also have a coach, so this is no hate. Anyway, I wanted to highlight that too, because sometimes I think because we are good at what we do, people come in expecting like we know all the things, and we know a lot of things, but there's some things that we don't know.
There are the things we don't know, and there are things that we just ask that you're willing to try.
Yes.
Right? Because we go, hey, for many clients in this situation, this has worked. Mm-hmm. So I think it's worth us testing and giving it a fair shot too. Because a lot of this is, at the end of the day, you are your own N of one. Like, we have some good archetypes in terms of like, yeah, we have worked with a lot of perimenopausal women who have come from a history of yo-yo dieting, who maybe did a lot of group fitness and like want to turn that around and be like, I want to look more muscular. I want to get back to a lower body fat percentage. Help me there. We've helped lots and lots of clients in those shoes. However, not a single protocol has worked for the same person. Everybody has a different set of life circumstances. Everybody has all these things. And so you're, again, engaging us to help you fast track some of that testing. And we may find, hey, you know what? As much as this big breakfast works for 85% of my clients, your work schedule does not help for this big breakfast. And we're going to do a smaller breakfast, bigger lunch. We're going to test out a few things to figure out what works for you in the long term in your lifestyle. And we appreciate that you give us the grace to allow us to test that with you to figure out what works best for you.
Yes. Yep. Love that. So what would you like to leave our audience with today?
I would say the one thing that I would... a good question. If you're looking to engage in coaching that has a long-term outcome in terms of, I'm not just getting this transformation or this improved performance or this improved muscle mass in 12 weeks, but I'm looking to retain that in the long term, your expectation of timeline is probably quite a bit longer than it looks. But the longer the timeline, the usually better the results and the more sustainable the results. And that can be a really, really tough pill to swallow for some clients. But at the end of the day, that time is going to pass either way. And if you think about how much time you've already spent doing all the short ways. It's probably going to take a fraction of the amount of time you spend on shortcuts to just do the thing that's going to help you get those long-term results.
Love that. So, and where can our audience find you?
Guys, if you don't know me at this point, I mean, you might as well just kick it. On the Instagram at Laura Justine Savino. I know Emma's gonna link it in the notes, and that you can start there, and you will find all the Practical Athlete, Elevated Pursuit Nutrition. They're all linked underneath there. So
perfect. Well, thanks again. It's always fun having you on. I guess I probably don't need to do the whole where can the audience find you anymore, but
I mean, probably not, since we are doing this again next week, but
that's true.
Maybe next week we will say you don't need to find me.
Sounds like a plan. Well, cool. Thanks for listening, guys. Hopefully this was helpful too, because I think with the online space too, kind of every coach does things differently because there isn't really a standard. But there is I feel like a general good rule of thumb sort of way to do things, where you're having weekly accountability, you're having messaging support, you're offered guidance. It's not just workouts and macros, you're actually talking to your coach on a regular basis. And so hopefully this is helpful, but to also show even if the cost of coaching is more than the kind of range that we gave, if it's online coaching, it's probably not going to there is no magical way for us to just give you results. So that's also kind of the caveat that kind of spurred this idea, is because there are companies that charge more, and that's okay. If someone wants to pay that, they can pay that. If someone wants to work with a specific company because of that, that's totally fine. But the online coaching is probably going to be fairly similar, unless the coach is really not good. So that's the only caveat there. And so that's the expectation. It's if you pay more, that doesn't necessarily mean quicker results or more hand-holding or yada yada. Because a good coach, again, we want to make you autonomous. We don't want you to make you dependent unless you want that. And there's some people just want that. But anyway, that's kind of why I wanted to talk about this. So thank you, Laura, for chatting about it with me. And if this was helpful, guys, if you could rate the show, share the show. Because again, the online coaching space, it's the Wild West. So the more people see what realistically it would be then maybe less people will fall for craziness or crazy scams, or maybe more people will see oh, this is actually a valuable thing or something. I don't know. Just trying to educate the masses here, people.
I mean, I'm gonna throw a curveball in here, and I think I don't think the online coaching space is getting crazier. If anything, the online coaching space is getting 1,000% more accessible, because you have people being able to utilize AI resources. I'm gonna go a big left turn, but then we can put a pin in this, come back to it. The thing that I would use to differentiate if you're coach shopping is, does this person seemingly have a relationship with current and past clients? So do you see current and past clients potentially commenting on their posts or Substacks or et cetera, YouTube videos? Number 2, does this person have a way to engage that is a human-to-human reaction or relationship?
I love that.
So in Emma's case, you've got the Looms, we have voice memos, we have phone calls. Do I know that I'm talking to a real person on the screen and not some AI language model version of themselves? And number 3, can this person relate to me on an individual level? So human interaction. Do they have a current relationship? And then can they relate to me on a human level? That doesn't mean that Emma and I have been in your exact shoes. In fact, we really haven't most of the time. Very few people, you guys all have we have our own feet. We have our own set of lived experiences, but can I relate to you? Can I draw on some life experience or client experience to go, hey, you know what? I've worked with 2 other people in their shoes. Here's what happened. This is worth trying, because this worked for them, or this really didn't work for them. And I want to throw you some flags out there. If a coach can meet those three and obviously have some sort of actual coaching chops in terms of understanding of nutrition, etc., that was kind of a given, then that might be a better fit for you. But that's a really top level sniff test that I would be performing if I'm looking for somebody, because I want to make sure that this coach can relate to me. I want to make sure I'm actually talking to a real person, because I'm going to be paying a couple $100s a month. That's really important to me.
Yeah.
And that they've kind of shown that they have that same relationship with somebody else too.
Yes, I love that. And yeah, especially with the AI stuff nowadays, like that was an even better way to end the episode. We should do another one on that. There's a lot there. There's a lot there. Yes. But yeah, so hopefully this was helpful, guys. And if it was, again, do all the things. And we'll catch you on the next one.